Part 48. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 471. Lin Guillen's expression became tense again. The captain is right. It's too early for us to be happy now. We don't know the other party's condition, and we don't know how many people and mechas there are. However, we have limited supplies and limited mechas, so if there is no rescue outside, if we come in time, everything will have to be on our own. Now that we are surrounded by the other party, we must always be vigilant and cannot relax for a moment. Yes, you can't relax. The team members gathered their emotions and quickly returned to their alert state. Then they all looked at Bai Qianshun. Captain, what should we do next? Bai Qianshun thought for a while and said, let's go out of the starport first. There is a valley 1,000 meters away. It is easy to defend but difficult to attack. Let's go there to hide first and then see the situation. Okay, the team members responded quickly, then formed a combat formation and flew quickly towards the valley marked by Bai Qianshun. Bai Qianshun had a super mecha as a cheating weapon, and the radar could detect a range of 3,000 meters beyond that of ordinary mechas. Therefore, before the beast-shaped mecha could detect them, she had already led her team members to avoid them. These pursuits and sieges took them nearly an hour and a half on a journey that could have taken only 10 minutes. Fortunately, their slowing down and hiding was effective, and they finally reached the designated valley without any danger. This place is indeed easy to defend but difficult to attack. There are several air raid shelters inside. They were probably developed before, but were later abandoned. There are still some abandoned machines and scattered debris inside. As for the top of the air raid shelter, it looks quite strong. They used mechas to scan the rock structure and earth structure, and it can withstand the fire of dozens of mechas. In order to save energy, the team members all got off the rack and sat around in the dark air raid shelter. Bai Qianshun analyzed the evasion situations along the way. It seems that the people in the Orc Empire have not fully controlled all the monitoring of this asteroid, otherwise we would not have been able to avoid so many tracking along the way. Yet. Then should we continue to hide here and wait, or should we take the initiative? The guys were silent for 2 seconds, and then said in unison, of course I took the initiative. Everyone looked at each other and smiled, and the tense atmosphere in the valley also became lively. We're already here, wouldn't it be too cowardly if we just sat here and waited for rescue without doing anything? Yes, and those orc mechas ambushed us just now. If we don't give them some clues, those orcs will really think that we are cowards. The more rational ones said, we can explore more while ensuring safety. So a dozen people in the team reached a consensus and decided to explore what was going on with this asteroid. As they said before, the border war is now in full swing. It makes no sense that such an orc mecha broke through the border and even occupied a logistics asteroid. Several large legions on the front line did not know, or even had any news. Didn't flow out. So Bai Qianshun is more inclined to believe that the orcs on this asteroid actually smuggled in before the war started, or even several years ago, and then gradually took control of the garrison here, and even conducted experiments with the garrison. So that those people turned into those deformed monsters. So here comes the question. Bai Zhuangquan specifically chose this asteroid as the logistics station of the 9th Army, and also sent his team to serve as the vanguard. Does Bai Zhuangquan know that things have changed here? Now it is controlled by the orcs of the Orc Empire? Bai Qianshun actually knew that he was leaning towards him. From the calm situation on the battleship before, he could guess a thing or two by only making a few small moves, in order to lower her defensiveness. As for how he knew, the answer was obvious. It must have been the Orc Empire who contacted him, which meant that there might still be a well-hidden spy in the Huayao Empire. And the spy must have known her identity, as well as the entanglement between Bai Zhuangquan and her. Even the fact that the Empire's top officials collectively sided with her to conceal Bai Zhuangquan was the spy who told Bai Zhuangquan. Otherwise, she couldn't figure out why Bai Zhuangquan would bring the logistics warship of the Ninth Legion over to the asteroid, knowing that there were people from the Orc Empire on it, and use her team as the vanguard. Once she loses contact and the planet's defenses are broken, in this sensitive period of war between the two empires, what is going on inside will inevitably not be hidden, and the leader Bai Zhuangquan will never be able to escape the crime. During this sensitive period, just being involved with the Orc Empire is like stepping on dog shit, and you can't brush it off even if you want. With Bai Zhuangquan's cunning and tactful nature, seeking advantages and avoiding disadvantages, he would definitely not want to get involved in such a sensitive matter unless he had to. Therefore, Bai Qianchun guessed that Bai Zhuangquan must have known that she had asked the senior officials of the Huayao Empire to help her identity was kept secret, so he was so careless about it, gave it a go, and wanted to kill her crazily. Because he knew that once she took control of the Ninth Legion, it would be time to settle the accounts with him, and even his death. In this way, it makes sense for Bai Zhuangquan to do this. An exclamation suddenly sounded. Lin Fiwi, who was wandering around inside the cave, suddenly lost his footing and fell into a cave. When he turned on the searchlight that came with the optical brain and took a look at the surroundings, he immediately raised his head and looked up at his friend who was calling him worriedly. They shouted happily. "Kui Kui, don't worry, Captain, I found a tunnel down there, it looks like it was freshly dug." The people above who were lying at the entrance of the cave and watching suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Lin Guiyan raised the corner of her mouth and cursed with a smile, "This silly boy, silly people are quite lucky. How about we go in through this tunnel and have a look? We are not familiar with this planet anyway, so we can only bump around like headless flies when we go up there." "I think so." So everyone unanimously agreed with this suggestion and jumped down one after another. Lin Fiwi raised his hand to be a pathfinder, but no one else could stop him, so he simply stopped and only added Leng Xiao behind him just in case. Apart from Bai Qianchun, Leng Xiao is the most skilled in this team. The others didn't have any objections. After forming a formation and Bai Qianchun stopped, a group of people crawled into the tunnel on all fours. This tunnel is really small, a little smaller than a ventilation duct. When they climb, they often rub some mud on the sides. After a while, a group of people are covered in dust. After climbing for a long time, it felt so quiet and boring, so Lin Fiwi couldn't help but joke. "This digger is really thin. If I were a little fatter, I might be stuck halfway." Lin Guiyan took a breath subconsciously. She was not fat, but the 2 pieces of flesh on her breasts were a little too much. For the first time, she envied a skinny and petite person. Looking at Lin Qiui in front of her, she was skinny and climbed a lot, damn it. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 472. With Lin Fiwi's atmosphere in charge, this long journey of climbing the tunnel was not too lonely and long. After climbing for nearly half an hour, they finally saw the light of day. "Listen, there is a sound ahead, we are almost at the end of the climb." Lin Fiwi lowered his voice and shouted excitedly. "Hey, I didn't expect that I could actually find some clues in this tunnel." The people climbing the tunnel behind me lowered their voices tacitly, and continued to climb in quietly. In the dark tunnel, a pair of eyes were wide open, and their ears were perked up to listen for any movement. "Quickly, collect the research results quickly. Throw out those failed products and let them fend for themselves. Our General Babu has ordered that those failed products are useless. Huayao's people have discovered our planet. We have to prepare to retreat." "Good, Professor. We have almost cleared away the failed products in the laboratory, and only a few important experimental products in the last few rooms are left. Let them out too, we don't have time." "Okay, Professor, by the way, what about the person in the last room with the double defense shield?" "He is the person General Babu has ordered to be guarded, and it is said that he is an important figure in our empire. What about the important person? He was smuggled into the human empire and locked up. Even if he was discovered and rescued here, he would only die. Besides, he is just a prisoner now, and he is not as good as a gatekeeper like me. Okay. Well said, Hussein. Those rough voices laughed with mockery, and their disdain and contempt for that important person could be heard through the walls. Okay, Hussein, you go to work quickly. Leave the men inside first. General Babu is tracking the Huayao people who broke into the planet. He is not in the mood to pay attention to this man now. We will ask the general when we retreat. It's not too late to deal with him no matter what, since he is a useless person anyway and cannot escape. I know, Professor, let's go, let's get to work quickly. General Babu doesn't want anyone to be lazy, otherwise we will be the next ones to have their tails cut off and the gene fragments extracted. As the messy footsteps left, the outside slowly became quiet. Everyone in the tunnel also breathed a sigh of relief, and Lin Fiwi was instructed to continue climbing forward. It's done, it's done. Lin Fiwi shouted excitedly, then stood up and pushed away the large piece of bricks blocking his head. What's wrong? Why aren't you moving? Leng Xiao looked at the frozen body in front of him, frowned, patted Lin Fiwi's thigh and asked. Lin Fiwi held up the bricks with both hands, stared at the slovenly man opposite him for a while, and then said with a sad face, "We have been discovered." A group of people waiting in line for the exit below all froze and quickly became alert. 5 minutes later, a group of people, from Lin Fiwi, who was at the front of the team, to Bai Qianshun, who was at the back of the team, all sat in a spacious and empty room. A row of bright eyes looked at the other side, who also had their legs crossed, with disheveled hair and beards. Crazy growth, ragged clothes, like a madman who cannot see his true appearance. Bai Qianshun glanced around him and narrowed her eyes. Are you the important person those people said? The madman opposite nodded quietly, and then his dry voice sounded like nails scraping against a wall. Are you Huayao people who broke into this planet? After he finished speaking, he swallowed and licked his dry, cracked and bleeding lips. The eyes hidden under the disheveled hair could be vaguely seen to be different from normal human eyes, with some traces of orcish vertical pupils, but they soon disappeared and turned into silent and dark eyes. If you look closely, you can see that his eyes are calm, even kind. Bai Qianshun couldn't figure it out. This person should be from the Orc Empire. Didn't it mean that the Orc Empire and the Huayao Empire were incompatible with each other and were incompatible with each other? How come this orc can still express kindness when he sees people like them from the Huayao Empire? As if he understood her thoughts, the man opposite said in a hoarse voice, "My wife is from Huayao. She is a kind, hard-working, warm, and tough woman who never gives up even though she is weak. I love her very much." Listening to his sincere words, Bai Qianshun and the others felt a little emotional. What about her? I ran away with our son. I don't know what happened to them now. I want to go find them. Madman said with a hint of melancholy in his voice. Bai Qianshun, so you dug that tunnel? The madman didn't deny it, but said directly, well, I'm looking for a suitable opportunity, and now is the best opportunity. I'll take advantage of them to be in chaos, and I'll run away while they don't have time to come to me. Then are we preventing you from escaping? The madman nodded straightforwardly. Bai Qianshun and others' mouths twitched. Bai Qianshun thought for a moment and said, otherwise, tell us the news about this laboratory and General Babu on this asteroid, and we promise to take you out. Even if you are captured by our Hua in the future, the Yao Empire's Legion found out, how about we can also help you testify and prove that you are just a victim from the Orc Empire? Although Crazy was upright, he was not stupid. He immediately caught the loophole in her words, just testify. Bai Qianshun, that can only serve as testimony, otherwise you may be regarded as a traitor. The two sides faced off expressionlessly for a while. In fact, it only lasted for more than 10 seconds. In the end, the madman on the opposite side sighed first and spoke out. Babu is the newest major general in the Orc Empire a few years ago. On the surface, he is unpopular, but in fact he is the Fox King's confidant. I was brought here 6 years ago. As you can see, this is a laboratory. It should have been a hidden existence at first. It was hidden in the darkness of your Huayao garrison, and it was not revealed that I was from the Orc Empire. At least when I came here, Babu's identity had not been exposed, and this laboratory was apparently a regular existence known to the garrison. I didn't know much about it while I was locked up, I only knew that they were doing a kind of generalization. An experiment in which humans are transformed into orcs. At the beginning, this experiment progressed very slowly, and not many experimental subjects were captured. My wife was among this group of people. Until a year ago, Babu became more and more courageous and captured. There are also garrisons among the people. 3 months ago, they intensified their efforts. They turned all the experimental subjects into those garrisons and began to conduct experiments on a large scale. Every day, people screamed heartbreakingly and then turned into beasts roaring and neighing. I can't sleep, I suspect that all the Huayao garrison on this planet have been captured. Then you don't have to doubt, they have all been captured. Linfi, we couldn't help but complain. From the deserted situation they saw at the starry skyport, they could judge that the garrison here was 90% complete. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 473. Just when Bai Qianchun and others wanted to ask a few more questions, a deafening bombing sound suddenly sounded outside, followed by one after another. The whole laboratory was shaken, and sand and stones fell sparsely from the top of their heads. The experimental equipment on the table crashed to the floor. Those with sharp ears can still hear howls and curses coming from across the wall. Their laboratory, which was equipped with double defensive covers, turned into a safe zone. Although it shook a few times due to the vibration, there was no sand and gravel above the head, and the overall look was very solid. But the group of people sitting inside looked at each other a few times in confusion, with vigilance on their faces. Lin Guiyan frowned, her beautiful eyes filled with suspicion. What's going on? Did our rescue battleship arrive so soon? That's not right. I feel that the sound of bombing is very close. It is getting closer and closer. It seems to be coming towards us. Having said this, others also felt that the sound of the explosion was getting closer and closer, and the sound became louder and louder. The people from their third logistics team crawled over through the tunnels. There should be no one who didn't know they were here. In other words, those bombing sounds were directed at the madman who was already in this room. The madman who was stared at by Bai Qianchun and others shrank his neck, and his eyes hidden under his disheveled hair shook his head in confusion. I don't know who is here, but he knows that I am here and is thinking about him. The only thing I have is my wife, but she is only a D-class psychic. At this moment, Bai Qianchun suddenly turned around and looked in the direction of the original tunnel, frowning and said, "Oh no, I don't know if this tunnel has been affected." This tunnel was dug with bare hands, and no reinforcement measures were taken at all. The blasts from the bombings just now might have caused it to collapse. Leng Xiao jumped into the hole and looked inside. When he climbed up again, his stern face with a few mud marks on his face was solemn, and he looked at Bai Qianchun and the others in the room who were looking at him with concern. Shaking his head, I didn't take a few steps and it was already blocked. This. There were only two ways before them now, either to go into the tunnel and dig it out again, or to break out of the room openly. Bai Qianchun thought it would be better to just break out. The people in the laboratory were already retreating. In addition, General Babu was still outside. There were fewer people staying in the laboratory. It would be better for them to just break out. Sure. But her thoughts couldn't change as quickly as she did. Before she could make a decision, the sounds of explosions and fighting outside were already nearby. We're here, it should be here. The outer door was slammed open, and the thick smoke carrying sand and dust dissipated, and people wearing wild animal skins were seen running in one after another, forming two rows and standing in an orderly manner, as if they were clearing the way for someone. Before Bai Qianchun and the others could react, they saw those wearing animal skins kneeling down on one knee and respectfully shouting in unison, "Your Majesty the Fox King." Madman. Bai Qianchun and others. The two sides looked at each other, both a little confused. Lin Fiwi's rough face showed an expression of astonishment, and he pointed at the madman opposite, "You, the Fox King." Madman was silent for several seconds, then he pulled back the disheveled hair hanging on his face, revealing a face full of vicissitudes of life but still showing a bit of handsomeness and nobility, with a trace of nostalgia in his eyes. I haven't heard this title for a long time, almost 30 years ago." Bai Qianchun and others looked surprised. "That's not right. You mean you were arrested more than 30 years ago? So who is the Fox King now?" Lin Fiwi scratched his head. He remembered the documentary of the border war 3 years ago. It clearly records the high-spirited appearance of the Fox King and Fox 14 as they marched in person. But thinking about it, I do look a lot like the madman in front of me. However, this madman has gone through many vicissitudes of life, is decadent and skinny, but the Fox King in the documentary is full of complexion, handsome and proud, decisive in killing, and has a feminine look between his eyebrows. And the sinister bird of prey. Very similar looks, but completely different expressions. Huase, the current fake Fox King's name is Huase. He is the twin brother of the Fox King. He is a country thief who replaced the real Fox King. A magnetic and seductive male voice came from outside the door, and then 3 figures walked in from the door. The man walking at the front was wearing an expensive pink suit. The 3 buttons on the shirt inside were unbuttoned, revealing his fair and sexy collarbone. A bright red gemstone necklace hung around his neck. Just from the look of his clothes, use 2 words to describe it: saucy bag. Look again at his flirtatious and dandy face, a pair of seductive fox eyes that are restlessly shining with electric light, blinking, charming and seductive. Then he grabbed his pockets with both hands, his posture was elegant and casual, and a pair of straight long legs wrapped in pink suit pants walked in casually. When his smiling fox eyes saw Bai Qianchun, he secretly winked at her, happily turned off the electricity. Of the 2 people following him, the strong man on the left is tall and strong, as tall as an iron tower. The 2 exposed arms are thicker than their thighs and have strong muscles. It looks like he can kill several people with one punch. People. On the right is a beautiful woman with a heroic appearance and a curvy figure, but her sharp eyes are full of intimidation, like a female general on the battlefield, which is frightening and most people dare not look directly into it. But when Bai Qianchun and Leng Xiao saw them, their eyes suddenly lit up and burst into ecstasy. These 3 people are the last 3 missing from their Zai Wutong team, the eldest sister Su Lianhua, the 4th child Lu Wang and the old Wukan Sheiyu. The 3 people who originally thought they were on the side of the Orc Empire, who they thought they would have to wait until the war between the 2 empires were over, unexpectedly appeared here so unexpectedly. The 3 people opposite were also very excited. When the eldest sister Su Lianhua looked at the 2 of them, her sharp eyes became softer and warmer, exactly the same as her eyes in the ancient martial arts world in her previous life. Bai Qianchun's heart felt hot, and the corners of her mouth on her cold face curled up into an obvious smile, and even her eyes couldn't help but turn slightly red. "Long time no see, sister. It's so nice to see you again." This time they, Zi Wutong, truly have all their members present. However, in order to avoid trouble, Now is not a good time to recognize each other, so the 5 people from Ziwutong suppressed the surging emotions in their hearts. Even the most unbearable Lu Wang was pinched by Qin Shi Yu's arm. The big man like an iron tower had tears in his eyes. He didn't know whether he was crying from the pain of being pinched or because he couldn't go up to help his dear teammates. A hug and aggrieved. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 474. Bai Qianchun couldn't help but look at Lu Wang's tearful eyes. She turned her face away and looked at Qin Shi Yu, asking warily like a stranger, "Who are you?" The smile on Qin Shi Yu's lips widened, and he answered nonchalantly like a show, "My name is Hu Shi Yu, and I am the son of the former Fox King. Now I have become a prince. We learned about the real fox from Princess Qifa, and the king, my brother, also knows that the current Fox King of our Orc Empire is just a fake Fox King. Now this fake Fox King is very ambitious. In order to realize his own ambition, he has wasted people and money, causing countless casualties to the Orc soldiers of the Orc Empire, and the people are in dire straits. Now there are many opponents of him in the Empire. After hearing the news that he is a fake, many people are rejoicing. No, they can't wait to send me as the vanguard to welcome Brother Wang back to the Empire. I miss you, Brother Wang." He said this to the Fox King, the real Fox 14. But Fox 14 didn't hear his deliberate flattery at all. Instead, he stood up and rushed over to grab Qin Shi Yu's arm and asked, "Qifen, have you seen Qifen? Where is she?" "She's here." "No." After asking, he looked excitedly behind Qin Shi Yu and the others. His face, which had been numb with vicissitudes of life, turned red with excitement. He looked like an 18-year-old boy who wanted to meet his sweetheart, his eyes full of longing and anticipation. Qin Shi Yu raised her hand and touched her nose, held down Fox 14 who was about to run towards the door, and said soothingly, "Brother Wang, Sister Wang, Qifen didn't come in with us. She was on the Huayao Empire battleship outside this asteroid. Come on, but don't worry, Mrs. Wang is safe now and she's fine. Sister-in-law Wang made a deal with the Huayao Empire to let us in to rescue you, Brother Wang. In order for us to come in safely and for Brother Wang to be rescued safely, Mrs. Wang has promised the Huayao Empire that as long as Brother Wang you are rescued, you will sign a peace agreement with the Huayao Empire. Guarantee thousands of years of peace between the Orc Empire and the Huayao Empire. Brother Wang, sister-in-law Wang asked me to give you a message. It doesn't matter if you are unwilling to sign the peace agreement. Let me do my best to escort you back to the Orc Empire. She will bear all the consequences. She will leave it to the people of the Huayao Empire to let them do what they want, even if you have to kill or behead them, you will not regret it. So Brother Wang, think about whether you are willing or not. If you are not willing, I will take you to run away secretly to the other side of the border. As well as our dozens of warships, General Su and I will fight to the death to escort you, Brother Wang, to escape from the Huayao Empire." Fox 14 had not yet reacted, but Lin Guiyan, Lin Fiwi and others who were listening behind them suddenly became alert. Their eyes stared at Fox 14 nervously, and they looked at Qin Shi Yu and others warily. Bai Qianchun was not nervous and watched everything quietly. She also guessed a thing or two about the intention of Qin Shi Yu's words. Knowing that Fox 14 was worried about his wife Qifen, this boy took Qifen's words seriously. Even after Fox 14 refused to agree, Qifen's fate was hinted at. This was not left to Fox 14 himself. Make a decision, but force Fox 14 to make a decision. However, Fox 14, who was touched by his wife's friendship, did not hear Qin Shi Yu's true thoughts at all. He was smiling stupidly with a touched look on his face, and then said excitedly, "I am willing, of course I am willing. Qifen was hunted and went to the Orc Empire to find you for help. She must have suffered a lot on the way, how could I let her suffer again for me? And what Quiffen means is what I mean. She is the person who knows me best. She has always known that I love peace and don't like fighting at all. That's why she said the guarantee of this peace agreement. Even if she didn't say anything, she would have done it when I returned to the Orc Empire. We really have a good connection, and the soulmate is us. People present said that they were supported. It turns out that one person can spread dog food. Let's go then. Let's go out now. I'll sign the peace agreement. I also want to reunite with Quiffen and her son Fox 14 urged. Then he seemed to suddenly remember, by the way, where is my son? Have you seen my son Hule? How is he now? Has he gained weight? This little guy didn't eat anything when he was locked in the laboratory. Nutrition, the whole person is skinny, like a small skeleton. He muttered something in his mouth, and his words became smoother and smoother, full of the kindness of an old father. Qin Shiju hesitated for a moment. When it came to his wife and children, Fox 14 was quite keen and immediately noticed that something was wrong with his brother-in-law's expression. He immediately became vigilant and asked eagerly, "What happened to my son Huli? Did something happen to him?" Qin Shiju touched her nose and said, "When I picked up Quiffen Wang's wife at the border, she was just alone and unconscious in the corner. There was no child around her. Only Mrs. Wang should know the whereabouts of her nephew. Why don't you ask Brother Wang yourself after you go out and see Mrs. Wang?" Okay, then Fox 14 was worried and followed the group of people who came to pick him up as he walked out. Bai Qianchun and the others looked at each other and followed suit silently. At this time, everyone in the team still had a little excitement on their faces. Unexpectedly, they met the secret of the royal family in the Orc Empire. This real Fox King turned out to be a peace-loving person. As long as if a real peace agreement is signed, then their empire will no longer have to fight, and there will be real peace. And they were lucky enough to witness all this, which was so exciting that they suddenly felt no longer angry about being trapped in this planet. Isn't this an attempt to harm them? This is clearly to send them in to eat. As they followed them outside, they finally got a clear look at the structure of the laboratory. Although many places had been blown up, there was a lot of blood splattered on the ground, and there were many corpses lying on the ground. The general situation could still be seen clearly. Just one word to describe it: big. This laboratory is really very big, 3 or 4 times larger than the underground laboratory in the center of the first military academy examination room. However, it was probably cleaned up by General Babu and the professor, so it is a bit empty. The rooms are empty, there is nothing. They followed all the way out and could clearly see how Qin Shiju's team came in. It was the shortest straight line between 2 points. They didn't take a detour at all. They encountered holes all blown through the wall. He went on a rampage and walked straight through without taking the wrong path. No wonder they heard the rumbling explosions before. It turned out that it was not only because of the fight, but also because they were opening a way. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 475. Finally got out of it? Stepping out of the door of the laboratory, Fox 14 couldn't help but look up to the sky and take a deep breath. His weathered eyes were red and watery. He has been imprisoned for more than 30 years. Except for seeing the skylight outside when he was transferred to the laboratory of Huayao Empire, he has been trapped in the laboratory for the rest of the time. There is nothing to play and pass the time. The only person who stays with him and becomes the light in his heart is his wife Quiffen. His wife Quiffen became an orphan on the deserted star because of the war between the 2 empires, but she knows a lot of things and often talks about her growing vegetables, digging soil, making clothes, etc. on the deserted star. Something happened that made him couldn't help but yearn for a life on the deserted star with her. In fact, he doesn't really want to be the king of the Orc Empire. Compared with the Huayao Empire, which is protected by the 7 source stars, Their orc empire is much poorer. Most of them are desert areas, and there are only a few habitable planets. The young man is pitiful, and the burden of improving the lives of the people of the empire all falls on him as the king. The heavy responsibility weighs on his shoulders every day and makes him breathless, so he is not happy at all when he is the king. He doesn't like war, and he doesn't want to covet the Huayao Empire like the previous generations of Fox Kings and want to seize the Huayao Empire's territory. What he wants is to exchange the needs of both empires through trade, so that there is no need for war and the people do not have to die. You can exchange it for what you need. Although their orc empire is barren, they still have special products. For example, there are a lot of beasts. They are orcs and know the habits of beasts better, so they are very good at raising beasts. They can exchange their special products for the Huayao Empire. Vegetables and fruits. This matter has been planned since he ascended the throne. When he first proposed it, he encountered a lot of opposition. It was also difficult to convince the ministers to agree. He also knew in his heart that this must be a long-term process. But he believed that one day those ministers would agree to this plan, so he worked hard to convince the ministers while stabilizing the border and no longer provoking war. Unfortunately, he miscalculated. As soon as the plan got started, he was assassinated by his closest twin brother. The younger brother also took his identity and locked him in the laboratory. In the dark, this plan could only was put on hold indefinitely. But now the plan can finally see the light of day again. Fox 14 suppressed the overly excited emotions on his face and looked forward with determination. After returning this time, he will continue to carry out this matter no matter what. War is not a long-term solution, otherwise he will be like his wife. There will only be more and more people like Quiffen who suffer deeply from the war. King, be careful. Several sharp exclamations rang out, and Fox 14 subconsciously raised his head, only to see a stream of artillery fire flying towards him like a meteor. The newly reborn peace and tranquility was broken. The situation suddenly turned into a raging fire, and danger came quickly. Su Lianhua reacted quickly, and pounced forward like a leopard. She and Lu Wang took away Fox 14, who was still stunned in place, avoiding the gunfire rushing towards him. Boom! A violent explosion sounded, and a black mushroom cloud even rose in the air, showing how cruel this sudden attack was. After the huge roar, the surroundings suddenly became noisy and chaotic. Many orc guards who did not avoid it in time suffered disaster. When the smoke cleared, there were several injured people lying on the messy ground with huge pits. Bai Qianchun and the others fell behind and had not yet walked out of the laboratory door, but they escaped. She and her team hid at the door, frowning, and looking for the situation outside with a solemn expression. However, when she saw the black battleships divided into two camps in mid-air, she was still frightened. Jump! What is this? Driving the battleship directly to the planet? Just when she was stunned, the battleships in mid-air began to fight fiercely with each other. The artillery fire was more lively than fireworks. When she blinked, there were humanoid mechas and animal-shaped mechas flying out from the warships on both sides. As soon as the mechas from both sides met, most of them were intercepted and started a fierce large-scale mecha team battle in mid-air not far away. Only a few of the beast-shaped mechas that escaped the net were still flying towards them unremittingly, firing artillery fire attacks while flying. If you observe carefully, you can find that the artillery fire of the beast-shaped mechas was chasing Fox 14. The eldest sister Su Lianhua and others also took out the beast-shaped mechas and started to fight fiercely with them. Fox 14 was brought into the eldest sister's mecha. Now the mecha where the eldest sister is located has become the target of countless animal-shaped mechas, being chased and attacked crazily. If it hadn't been for the eldest sister's quick movements and slipperiness like a loach, it would have been impossible for her to be still alive and kicking now. What Bai Qianchun saw was frightening. She was more worried than if she was trying to escape in a mecha. The few people hiding behind her also cautiously poked their heads out and asked blankly, "What is going on here? Why did the Orc Empire attack one of its own people?" Wrong. It should be that the fake Fox King knew that the real Fox King had been rescued and the truth about his replacement was about to be revealed, so he led an army to kill people and silence them. I guess the fake Fox King drove the entire army of orcs to attack. Our borderline was torn open, and the orc warships were brought here. I think your guess is correct. Looking at the intense intensity in the sky, and the brightness and destruction outside the atmosphere, the whole sky is darkened, and a storm is about to come. You can tell at a glance that there is also a fierce battle going on outside the asteroid. Then what should we do now? Of course it is to protect the real Fox King Fox 14. He is the hope for peace between our two empires. Yes, Captain, what do you think? Baiken Chun's eyes slowly narrowed as he looked at the battle outside, and he said solemnly, "I think you are right. We do need to protect the real Fox 14, but you just hide in the laboratory and don't go out. Those outside are regular troops of the Orc Legion, and they are most likely the elite of the elite. Their goal is very clear, which is to kill the real Fox 14. If you hide, they probably won't be able to take care of you for a while, but if you show up, if you go out to help, then..." She didn't say it completely, but everyone understood what she meant. This means that if they show up, they might be used as cannon fodder. Although they were a little depressed, they had to admit that there was no comparison between these new soldiers who had not been on a real battlefield and their elite soldiers who had been on the battlefield for a long time. In particular, the Orc Empire is already powerful, and the combat effectiveness of the beast-shaped mechas is one level higher than that of their humanoid mechas. The team members who were still eager to try suddenly became exhausted, and they also realized their powerlessness at this critical moment. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 476. Hey, Captain, where are you going? Seeing Bai Qianchun looking like she was about to rush out, Lin Guiyan couldn't help but shout. Bai Qianchun looked back at her and said calmly, "Help protect Fox 14. Then she didn't give them a chance to speak, and rushed out without looking back. Then a mecha appeared in front of her. She jumped into the mecha cabin, and suddenly, the mecha flew into the air. He walked out, kicked away the first beast-shaped mecha that besieged the Fox King, and quickly joined the battle. This series of smooth and flowing movements was so fast that it took Lin Guiyan and others a while to react. Each of them looked sadly at the humanoid mecha that was moving flexibly among a circle of animal-shaped mechas. Good guy, she just persuaded them to retreat, but she was lucky enough to rush out to help in the next second like a monkey in the sky. Although they didn't want to admit it, her skills in driving mechas were indeed at a level that allowed her to join such a high-end elite battle, and she was completely different from the recruits like them. Leng Xiao watched as more and more beast-shaped mechas came to attack his eldest sister and Chun's sister, breaking through the humanoid mechas in mid-air. Especially when they hurt one of the forelimbs of the eldest sister's beast-shaped mecha, he began to stare. Congested, unable to hold back. Then he swooped out. His movements were as smooth as Bai Qianchun getting on the mecha. After a while, he quickly joined the battlefield and started a cooperative battle with Bai Qianchun. With his help, the situation on the scene was not to mention a comeback, but it was indeed stable. At least it gave Su Lianhua and other animal-shaped mechas a chance to breathe, and then they began to launch a counterattack. Lin Guiyan and others. Well, both of them are secretive. Leng Xiao usually doesn't talk much, but he didn't expect to be so fierce and aggressive when he opened the mecha. He didn't lose at all against other elite beast-shaped mechas, and was even stronger. After a while, it seemed that he usually kept it when training against them. The weather inside the asteroid was devastated by countless warships' gunfire, and the weather was chaotic. From time to time, there were lightning and thunder, the gunfire was deafening, and the sky became extremely dark. Thunder and lightning split, and the sky seemed to be torn apart, and then it started to rain. Heavy rain fell on the ground mercilessly. Whether it was people from the Orc Empire or the Huayao Empire, as well as Bai Qianchun and others who were besieged below, they all knew that the situation was worse. The reason why the battleship docked at the starry skyport and never entered the planet was because of its huge size. Also, once it is fired within the planet, it will have a devastating blow to the planet. Now dozens of ships are fighting fiercely in this asteroid with a poor carrying capacity, and the damage to it is obvious. In the end, it may even cause the entire planet to turmoil or even self-destruct because it cannot bear the explosive energy. The fake Fox King's warship obviously had to give way to Fox 14. It was a good thing that the asteroid exploded and took away Fox 14 in a wave. Therefore, under the command of the fake Fox King, the Orc warships fought more and more crazily, regardless of costs and consequences. In comparison, the warships on the Huayao Empire's side are much more cautious. For one thing, this asteroid is their logistics star. Those deformed monsters below are also the garrison of their Huayao Empire. Maybe they can still be saved. If this asteroid explodes, these garrison troops will not even have the last chance. No more, they don't want to sacrifice these garrisons until the last moment. Secondly, they also know the importance of the true Fox King below. Once the asteroid explodes, the true Fox King, who is still surrounded by the elite battleships of the Orc Empire, may not be able to escape in time. As a result, the restrained Huayao Empire battleship was at a disadvantage. A group of people hiding in the laboratory saw this and were anxious in their hearts. They shouted in a panic on the channel, "It's over, it's over. Those battleships and mechas in the Orc Empire are so crazy. It's like they've been on stimulants. They're totally gone. If you can't stop, even if you die, you will have to hold on to someone else's back and blow yourself up to die together. Now we have destroyed 8 mechas and 1 battleship. Captain, what's wrong? I discovered something big." I felt the ground began to shake faintly, and I also detected that the temperature of the asteroid's core was rising rapidly. I have learned this related knowledge. If the temperature reaches its peak, at that time, this asteroid may explode. After Bai Qianchun killed a beast-shaped mecha, he took a breath, and then said on the public channel with a solemn face, "I know this situation, and you should be prepared. Take advantage of the darkness to find the opportunity. Run out of this asteroid first." Hey, what's going on? The channel has just been restored, and you are about to run out? What happened inside? Ya Yang's voice suddenly sounded on the public frequency. Bai Qianchun was stunned, and the other team members immediately became excited. Then each person chattered about the situation inside, and then asked Ya Yang what the situation was outside now. What happened? Why did everything change after not seeing each other for a few hours? Ya Yang didn't hide anything, and also told what happened after they entered the asteroid. It is said that one of Instructor Cao's men who came to the rescue at that time discovered a clue as soon as he touched the asteroid starport. Knowing that there was a turtle in a urn device installed here, Instructor Cao immediately reported it and wanted Marshal Dirong to dispatch a warship to blast through the turtle layer. Shell. He knew the importance of the princess to the 9th Legion, and Marshal Dirong would definitely send a battleship to rescue her. But he never expected that the rescue warships of the 9th Legion had not arrived, but the huge battleship group of the Orc Empire came in a fierce manner, followed by some warships of the 2nd Legion and the 4th Legion stationed at the nearby border, chasing them. A reluctant attack. As soon as the warships of the Orc Empire arrived, they opened fire on the logistics warships of the 9th Legion parked nearby and launched an attack without saying a word. What happened next was even more exciting. First, Bai Zhuangquan contacted the warship of the Orc Empire and expressed his intention to surrender. The Orc Empire warship stopped attacking and began to bombard the turtle shell outside the asteroid. Wei Liangchen seemed to have expected Bai Zhuangquan's behavior. When Bai Zhuangquan commanded the battleship and brought a large amount of supplies to the ship, he gathered the uninformed soldiers in the battleship on the spot, exposed Bai Zhuangquan's true face in public, and then revolted and arrested him. Traitors like Bai Zhuangquan took control of the battleship. Then he deliberately pretended that Bai Zhuangquan defected to the Orc Empire, but at the last moment he betrayed him and launched an attack on the Orc Empire's warships. After some cunning maneuvers, he was attacked by the approaching 2nd and 4th Legions. With the cooperation of the warships were successfully evacuated from the Orc warship encirclement area and turned against the Huayao Empire's legion. It can be said that Wei Liangchen's move was really good. It not only alleviated the impact of Bai Zhuangquan's surrender to other unknowing but implicated people in the enemy warship, but also led them to make meritorious deeds. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 477. At this moment, the battleships of the 2nd and 4th Legions are engaged in fierce battles with the warships of the Orc Empire opposite them. The firepower of the logistics warships of the 9th Legion cannot match the serious frontline combat warships, so they can only retreat from the center of the firefight and watch the battle from the edge. But later, Wei Liangchen did not wait in the battleship, but brought a few powerful mecha warriors to join Ye Yang. However, because the battleships of the Orc Empire and the battleships of the 2nd and 4th Legions of the Huayao Empire were approaching, there was a fierce battle, and the starry skyport was still blocked. They were afraid that they would be shot into a sieve once they passed, so they could only choose to lie dormant and wait for the opportunity. From Ye Yang's few reports, Bai Qianchun understood that it would be very difficult to get out of this asteroid that was blocked by the starport. But time waits for no one, and the celestial phenomena in the asteroid become more and more terrifying and violent. The thunderbolts seem to tear the entire sky apart, and the fierce hurricane rolls in mid-air. The fighting warships are floating around, and they have to open the defensive cover. The situation is already very bad. Boom! A huge explosion came from the surface, shaking the entire planet, and then a strong, scorching fire suddenly appeared in the dark night where the heavy rain was like a flood. Looking up, I saw a volcanic eruption taking place in the east and north of the asteroid. Fireballs spewed out, shaped like flying fireballs. An orc mecha that was approaching was accidentally hit by the fireball, and the surface of the mecha was immediately melted. Most of the fire-colored orcs in the mecha cabin were in agony, howling and screaming. After a while, half of their bodies were burned to coke, and finally fell into the erupting magma along with the mecha. Hiss, this fire is no ordinary fire. It actually melted a mecha made of special materials that can travel through the universe in just one encounter. Bai Qianchun happened to see this scene, her eyes flashed, then she narrowed her eyes, her fingers trembled slightly, and clicked the channel button to connect to Su Lianhua's private chat. She thought about it for a while, and called out with nostalgia in her voice, "Sister." Su Lianhua glanced at Fox 14 sitting in the passenger seat, and reached out to set the isolation mode to separate the main driver's seat and the passenger seat. Then she connected to the private chat channel. Hearing the familiar tone in her ears, the expression on Su Lianhua's heroic and cold face softened, and a familiar eldest sister's silly smile appeared on her cool and cold face. "Second sister." The corners of Bai Qianchun's lips curled up, her beautiful eyes sparkled with a bright light, and she suggested, "Sister, do you want to try a dangerous escape game?" Su Lianhua understood the meaning of her words tacitly and replied excitedly, "Of course, I haven't played such a thrilling game in a long time." "Then come on." Lin Guiyan and others hiding in the laboratory looked at the harsh and violent weather outside. They were frightened and their hearts were spinning with anxiety. The captain asked them to wait for an opportunity to escape, but they were fighting not far from the door of the laboratory. Their team, a dozen people and a dozen mechas, were too big of a target, and they were afraid they would be seen if they went out. Coupled with the volcanic eruption in the far north lighting up this dark purgatory, it becomes even more obvious. It would be nice if those orc mechas couldn't be bothered to pay attention to these little minions and treat them like nothings, but they were afraid that those crazy orc mechas would implicate them and kill them all together. What to do, what to do? They don't want to wait here to perish together with this asteroid. Hey, look, look, they've moved their positions. Lin Fiwi suddenly pointed outside and said. Ah, that's not the case. Our captain should have lured them away and moved their position. They flew towards the direction of the volcanic eruption. Oh, good captain, you are creating opportunities for us to escape. Quick, quick, everyone, get ready. Don't let the captain down by sacrificing himself for others and luring away the wolves. As a result, Lin Guiyan and others quickly tensed up their nerves. Just as the beast-shaped mechas were chasing the human-shaped mechas and a beast-shaped mecha, after the other mechas caught up with them, they immediately left the laboratory without stopping and boarded the plane. A, carefully avoiding the fierce gunfire, flew in the direction of the Huayao Empire battleship. Since the starport is blocked and they are still not going out, they might as well join the Huayao Empire's warships first. For the sake of friendly forces, their Huayao Empire's warships will definitely protect them. After thinking about it, they were faster and would never waste the opportunity given to them by the captain. But even though they thought they couldn't be more cautious, the sudden appearance of a dozen mechas on the battlefield was still very abrupt, especially since the direction they came from was the laboratory, which immediately aroused the nerves of the Orc Empire. Damn it, the warships of the Orc Empire are firing at us. Come on, let's run. The public channel was suddenly in chaos, with more than a dozen fledgling recruits fleeing in confusion in mid-air. In the command room of the Huayao Empire's 2nd and 4th Legions, many people frowned. Are those new recruits from the 9th Legion's logistics expedition trapped in the asteroid? This level is far from the two mechas that came out just now. Those two mechas and dozens of beast-shaped mechas are not at a disadvantage. Yes, the people sitting in those two mechas are Bai Jianchun and her kid named Leng Xiao from Wuyuan planet. They are so awesome. I'm afraid even our elite soldiers can't do this. The 2nd Legion, that is, the Sheng family, is currently commanded in the command room by Sheng Beining's biological father, Sheng Hongtian. With a solemn expression on his majestic face, he said, "First go and deal with the new recruits, and then add more firepower. Let the boys below tighten their skin and move quickly. The new recruits are better than them. If they drag down the mechas from the Orc Empire and stagnate in mid-air, they will die without knowing how." The corner of the adjutant's mouth twitched. "Admiral, you are a bit pushy. The fake Fox King in the Orc Empire went crazy to get rid of the real Fox 14ers, and his subordinates also went crazy. Our elite machine, the armor soldiers, are not as strong as other people's beast-shaped elite mecha soldiers, so it is good to be able to hold back so many." Sheng Hongtian snorted with dissatisfaction. "It's still useless for them. Those two little guys on Wuyuan planet are still new recruits. Look at them, they cooperate with each other tacitly, and they have killed 8 beast-shaped mechas so far. What's more, look at those guys, they can't do it one-on-one, they must be lazy in training." The adjutant was also a little shaken, but to avoid harming Chiyu, he was also arrested and retrained as a devil. He could only bite the bullet and continue to make excuses for them. Then, is it possible that the two little guys from Jupiter are too talented? Genius can do things that ordinary people cannot. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 478. After hearing this, Sheng Hongtian actually nodded thoughtfully. "That's right, it's true that ordinary people and geniuses are different. My daughter is also extremely talented. Now the level of mecha combat is as good as her elder brothers. Yes, I had a sparring match with me a few days ago and we won. I am really better than the old. I was wrong. I don't blame those brats for their poor abilities. I blame people like my daughter for being so talented. Adjutant, I suspect that you, the girl monger, are taking the opportunity to show off your girl again, and there is sufficient evidence. After making a few jokes to lighten the atmosphere, the command room became serious and tense again, watching Baiken Chun's mecha and the beast-shaped mecha carrying Fox 14 intact as they shuttled through the violent volcanic eruption zone. And after several beast-shaped mechas fell into the lava and were burned into a pile, several people in the command room of the 2nd Legion also breathed a sigh of relief. But their frowns still remained. After a few more minutes, Shen Hongtian frowned and glanced at the monitoring status of the asteroid on the screen. He tapped the table with his fingers irritably and said with a solemn expression, "The weather is getting worse and worse. This asteroid is not far from self-destruction. Why haven't the rescues from other legions come yet?" The adjutant straightened his back and replied solemnly, "They were all intercepted on the road. Before, we thought that the fake Fox King was afraid of having his identity revealed, so he was so anxious that he led the Orc army to break through and rush into the border, but he seemed to they also kept their hands, and then many Orc warships broke in from the breach of the border line, desperately intercepting the warships that came to the rescue. I made a preliminary estimate that the warships dispatched by the Orc Empire this time have far exceeded that of the border battle 3 years ago. The number of battleships fought." Shen Hongtian said with a cold expression, "Humph, the ambition of the Orc Empire is unabated. If that little guy from Mu Yuan hadn't discovered their plot, and in a few years they would secretly expand the Orc army, we would probably suffer a big loss." After he finished speaking, his expression became more solemn. "Give me my order, grit your teeth and drag those beast-shaped mechas down, and the rescue of Fox 14 below can't rely solely on the support of this little girl. It's so shameful that we don't do anything, we have to." The adjutant beside him habitually listened to his ramblings. Suddenly, he lowered his head and glanced, his eyes lit up, and interrupted him, "General, there is news from the 3rd Legion. Lord Feng personally led the 3rd Legion. 3 legions of legions are here to support us." The serious expression on Shen Hongtian's face softened a little, and then he laughed and scolded, "That little brat is not supporting us. He is clearly here to save his wife. This guy has been protecting his wife this year. Even if I don't, I've heard a lot about him. He's just like his father. He's a lover. Oh no, he's better than his father. He used to be a sharp-tongued man who kept women away. His father was a famous playboy before he got married. Young master, a prodigal son only turns around as a lover after getting married." Not long after, only half a minute, the 3rd Army arrived in a hurry, and the pressure on the Huayao Empire from the warship battle outside the planet was suddenly reduced. The Phoenix fighter planes of the 3rd Legion are notoriously wealthy. They have countless high-end and high-cost attack devices. They spend a lot of expensive energy stones. Their firepower is twice that of ordinary battleships. After a while, they unite with the already tired ones. The warships of the 2nd and 4th Legions guarding the outside defeated the warships of the Orc Empire on the opposite side. Feng Yu also took advantage of the moment when the door was torn apart and rushed into the asteroid with 3 Phoenix battleships. "Uncle Shen, where is my wife? I heard that she is in danger. Where is my wife now?" Feng Yu asked eagerly with a hoarse voice. Ever since he received the news that Bai Qianchun had entered an asteroid and lost contact, and then the Orc army approached the asteroid, he was extremely anxious, and his expression changed all the way. He was so ugly and gloomy that he was not even in the mood to drink water. He just rushed over with most of the battleships of the Legion at lightning speed. The Orcs who encountered the intercepting army on the road had an aura that was still trying to block the killers. They opened fire regardless of the cost, blasting out a road built with countless star coins energy. Shen Hongtian glanced at the adjutant beside him and said, "This guy is here for his wife." Then he said slowly, over there at the volcano, she is protecting Fox 14. She is quite capable so far and has killed many beast-shaped mechas. The excitement in Shen Hongtian's voice could not be concealed when he mentioned this. Speaking of how powerful your daughter-in-law is, she is no worse than my daughter, and she is also smart. She took advantage of the volcano's natural advantages and killed many people. The orcs with stupid brains can still gain the upper hand despite the enemy's attack being several times more powerful without rescue. They have a good mind and strength. They are natural combat masters. In the future, they will definitely be very good at tactics when they become commanders. Commander. Fen Yuyu subconsciously puffed up his chest, proudly. Then she could no longer hear Shen Hongtian's murmurings, so she turned on the electronic radar and looked for traces of Bai Jianchun. Although her mecha was disguised, it was still the brightest star in the mecha group. Fen Yuyu found her at a glance. He saw that she was entangled and besieged by the beast-shaped mecha, and she was almost hit by fireballs several times. So scared that he almost suffered a cardiac arrest. No, I have to go down and help her. With cold sweat on his forehead and worries in his heart, he directly transferred the command to an admiral beside him, walked towards the door of the battleship, got on the super mecha, and flew in the direction of the volcano. But several mechas appeared out of nowhere and were one step faster than him. Sister Chun, we took the opportunity to sneak in. Sister Chun, we are here to help you. Bai Jianchun was surprised when he heard Ye Yang's voice on the public frequency. Didn't you say that the starry skyport was blocked by water? How did you get in? Ye Yang chuckled. A legion came to support. The orc warship blocking the starry skyport outside was torn open. We followed the warship in front to sneak in quietly. As for who came for support, Ye Yang, who had been brainwashed by Wei Liang Chen, carefully avoided it. Oh, Bai Jianchun didn't ask any more questions, because she already knew which legion was coming to the rescue. Fen Yuyu, who was worried about his wife, had already sent her a private message. Bai Jianchun didn't even notice that when she heard Fen Yuyu's voice of eager concern about whether she was injured, the corners of her mouth turned up uncontrollably. Fen Yuyu breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that she was not injured and everything was fine. Then he frowned and looked at the beast-shaped mecha surrounding Bai Jianchun with sharp eyes before launching an attack. Bai Jianchun was surprised. He didn't expect Fen Yuyu's attacks on the battlefield to be so fierce and fiery. This strong and brutal fighting style was completely different from his usual temperament. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Lu Zy. Chapter 479. Ye Yang, whose speed was not as fast as the super mecha, could only see a super mecha pass him in a swish, and then perform a fierce and neat maneuver. The beast-shaped mecha surrounding Bai Jianchun fell into the hot lava one after another, and her pressure also dropped sharply. Ye Yang, who hurried over from behind, snorted dissatisfiedly when he saw this scene, but due to the increasing number of beast-shaped mechas around him, he didn't say much and silently pulled Qinjun to cooperate. Start killing enemies. However, Wei Liang Chen still followed slowly. His movements were graceful and unhurried. Compared to others who move swiftly and fiercely, he also has an air of nobility in his movements even when piloting a mecha. Ye Yang glanced in his direction and curled his lips in disgust. This girl is still so virtuous and likes to show off and make others look like pheasants. Ye Yang. Hearing the private message sent by Wei Liang Chen, Ye Yang curled his lips in dissatisfaction and said angrily, "What are you doing?" Wei Liang Chen was not annoyed, and his smiling voice was still gentle and charming. That mecha seems to be different from the mechas on the market. Ye Yang raised his chin and said with a proud tone, "Bumpkin, that's a super mecha. Sister Chun also uses a super mecha, but the mimicry looks no different from an ordinary mecha. Wei Liangchen's eyes flashed, is he Baiken Chun's agreed husband? Ya Yang, yes, that's him. Wei Liangchen smiled thoughtfully and said, this is different from the contract marriage you mentioned, the stranger couple. There are not many super mechas now. At least he hasn't received any news about the successful research on super mechas in the Huayao Empire. Even the famous First Marshal Huo Yuan's Huai has not used super mechas. He only heard that the Feng group was funding Master Zhu Xian's research, so he could guess where the super mecha in Baiken Chun's hand came from. To be able to give such a rare cross-generational gift, at least this young lord of the Feng family is not just a plastic couple with that woman Bai Jian Chun, as Ya Yang said. Ya Yang made a move and was almost scratched by the animal-shaped mecha across from him. He hesitated with a guilty conscience, anyway, Sister Chun hasn't told me that she accepted this agreed husband. They are just a plastic couple, and I don't think so, I kid you not, I just missed some small details. Wei Liangchen smiled softly, haha. Are these small details? Sure enough, the infatuated boy doesn't understand feelings at all. Originally, after listening to Ya Yang's narration, he thought that Bai Jian Chun, the woman, had signed a fake marriage agreement with little Lord Feng out of necessity. The two had no feelings for each other, and the man was also indifferent to her. Now that he and Sister Qinjun are here, the foundation has been laid on Wu Yuan's star. In addition, after the battle, the 9th Legion is in the hands of Bai Jian Chun. There is no need for the Feng family to help. Their fake the status of husband and wife can also be completely cancelled. He was afraid that although Bai Jian Chun looked cold, she actually didn't know that she could be soft-hearted, especially a woman who could fall in love for a long time. She would be seduced by that man, and then she would really have a baby because of this. In the name of husband and wife, love does not end well. It is most troublesome for women to have feelings, especially unrequited love. So when he was on the battleship, he brainwashed the 3 stupid young boys, Ya Yang, Leng Xiao and Qian Jun, so as not to mention her fake husband in front of the woman Bai Jian Chun. If there is no love, we can break it up neatly when the time comes. But now, Ya Yang missed the small details that led him to misjudge. That man has feelings for Bai Jian Chun and he really cares about her. Now that the choice is in the hands of that woman, Bai Jian Chun, he has nothing to worry about. Wei Liangchen decided to leave it alone, as long as the woman Bai Jian Chun didn't suffer. Feng Yuyu, who had no idea that he had gone through the most difficult stage, was now guarding Bai Jian Chun with a solemn expression, and his hoarse voice was filled with solemnity. We can't stay here for long, the asteroid's violent energy, the tipping point has been reached and we have to get out as soon as possible. Bai Jian Chun also nodded seriously, well, I know, you asked the Phoenix battleship to cooperate with us. Oh, well, the beast-shaped mecha carrying Fox 14 is their target, and the Orc Empire may bite them. Even if we die together, we must keep them. Feng Yuyu narrowed his peach blossom eyes, I already learned about this on the way here. Fox 14, the real Fox King, his wife is on my cousin's 1st Legion battleship. I have made arrangements and let him. We have sent this news to everyone in the Orc Empire opposite, and they should be disheartened for a while. After all, their empire is an empire that pays great attention to the inheritance of orthodoxy. Bai Jian Chun was surprised, have you broken into their communication channel? Feng Yuyu said modestly, I didn't do much, I just took a hacking course. I had nothing to do on the way here, so I took others to try it out, and then I succeeded. Bai Jian Chun, it's too Versailles. Does Fox 14 need to speak out personally to be more credible? Feng Yuyu smiled and said, we have a good understanding. That's what I was about to say. Bai Jian Chun's lips curled up, but she suppressed it again, and then sent a message to her eldest sister. Fox 14 is a Fox clan, a real Fox King, and of course his IQ is not a problem. With the help of Su Lianhua, he recorded a video that can prove his identity, even if it cannot let the uninformed warriors in the Orc Empire. They believed him completely, but half belief was enough. After a while, although the attack of the Orc Empire was still there, it was obviously a little slow. In the highest command room of the Orc Empire warship, feeling the eyes of people around him peeking at him, a charming and noble man in royal robes had a gloomy face, narrowed his fox eyes, and glanced back with a smile. "Why are you peeking at me? Look at me openly. I won't blame you." As an admiral, the tiger orc's eyes flickered and he asked tentatively, "Your Majesty, have you seen the video? That orc really looks like you." Fake Fox 14 sneered, and said gloomily, "It's just a trick played by those treacherous humans in the Huayao Empire to deceive us." "You believe it, Admiral Cole? You should know that the humans in the Huayao Empire are the best at military arrangements." "Well, this may be their new method of war to confuse us." The tiger orc's eyes were sharp. "Then can your Majesty explain why he changed his actions temporarily and led his army to break through the border? Even if there were countless casualties, he still came to this asteroid and used all his combat power to kill that person. Your Majesty's approach was very strange. Is it possible for me to be suspicious?" It happened that that person gave a very reasonable explanation. "Even though we know that the humans in the Huayao Empire are very treacherous, your Majesty's actions are still suspicious. Please give me an explanation. We Orc warriors, I don't want to be kept in the dark and make a knife that doesn't know anything. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 480. The fake Fox King's face was very ugly when he was forced to do so, but since he was here, he had already prepared his words and sneered, "Is Admiral Cole questioning me? Of course I will kill that person. My reason is that according to the news from the spies I planted in the Huayao Empire, that person is Master Xian who made the super mecha, and this asteroid is the place where the super mecha was made. The super mecha is infinitely powerful. With the super mecha, one can defeat our small group of orc warriors. If the super mecha comes out and is manufactured on a large scale, the Huayao Empire's armaments and combat capabilities will soon surpass ours, so Master Zhao Xian, the central figure in the creation of super mechas, must be eliminated. I am doing this all for the sake of our Orc Empire. As for the face that looks like mine, their Huayao Empire has a Muyuan Star Master who is good at making balls. She has a pill in her hand that can change his appearance. That person must have taken her pill and turned into those who look similar to me are here to deceive us and distract our troops. Then they can take advantage of this opportunity to escape. The owners of the pairs of ears standing around, it makes sense, the humans in the Huayao Empire are indeed very cunning." Only Admiral Cole was disdainful. He got the inside information from the old man. The Fox King in front of him was most likely a fake. These words were all excuses. Also, he remembered that the real Fox 14 was a peace-loving guy. He originally proposed a ridiculous peace agreement on trade between the two sides, but then he suddenly changed and became violent, fond of war, and started several battles in a few years. As a result, their Orc Empire needed to collect taxes to cover military expenses, and the people complained. Many Orc warriors died on the battlefield. Several of his close comrades in arms also died in the previous wars, and the family, which had lost its mainstay, lived an even more miserable life, and had to deal with various taxes. After seeing with his own eyes how miserable those whose families had lost orcs lived, Cole didn't like war very much, let alone His Majesty the Fox King who started the war. He now understood the good intentions of the peace-loving King Fox, and he also hoped that the peace-loving King Fox could come back. There are many orcs who have the same idea as him. Although the fake Fox King has given a reasonable explanation, there are still many orcs who have doubts in their hearts. Therefore, Fenyuya's goal of demoralizing the opponent's army was finally achieved. They also took advantage of the current hesitation in the artillery fire to escape neatly and flew into the air, intending to join the Phoenix battleship. Seeing them getting closer and closer to the battleship, the fake Fox King's eyes were splitting. He pushed aside the orcs at the battleship control station without hesitation, and took control of the mecha himself, chasing after the mecha carrying Fox 14. The fighting was continuous and intense. Crazy, crazy, that fake is crazy, hurry up, get on the battleship. Yang was talking loudly, opening the defensive cover and planning to retreat. Bai Chun said with a solemn expression, "You go first, I'll take the back seat, I have a super mecha." Yang, Leng Xiao, Qin Sheiyu, and others who originally wanted to stay were choked by the last sentence. They really couldn't refute this. How could their ordinary mechas compare to super mechas? Fen Yuyu frowned and said disapprovingly, "I'm also a super mecha. You go first and I'll take care of you." He couldn't bear to let his wife do such a dangerous job. Now the asteroid has reached the critical point and may explode at any time. The alarm sounded harshly, and the mecha below also began to quickly gather up and return to the battleship. There was no time to worry about it. On their side, coupled with the fact that the fake Fox King on the other side was chasing them like a mad dog and firing at them, preventing other mechas from getting close, the danger on their side could be imagined. The danger behind the pad can also be imagined. Bai Chun was a little moved, but she also knew how dangerous it was. In terms of fighting ability and physical strength, she was stronger than Fen Yuyu. If something happened, her ability to survive was also higher, so she refused coldly. "No, I'll take the back seat." Fen Yuyu had no choice but to soften her voice and said, "Daughter-in-law, just give me a chance to show off. I'm your man." Bai Chun paused and pretended not to know. "Why didn't I know when it happened?" Fen Yuyu raised her lips and smiled, her voice so gentle that it could make her water drop. "It will be soon. Let's hold a wedding when we get back, okay? I have torn up the marriage agreement. From now on, my star coins will be your star's coin. How about I hand over all my salary income to you?" Bai Chun, there are hundreds of millions of heartbeats. If all the richest man's star coins are given to her, then she can replace Fen Yuyu and become the richest man in the world in a matter of minutes without struggling on her own. Warning, warning, the temperature of the asteroid's core has reached a critical point and is about to explode. The countdown starts now. 10. Everyone who heard the sound immediately felt their hearts tightening, and then the Legion's public channel sounded the heartbreaking cry of Shen Hongtian, the supreme commander on the scene. "The son of a bitch, the fake Fox King, sent someone to deliberately pour the nuclear explosive. The asteroid self-destruct earlier than expected. The self-destruction is expected to be more powerful, twice as much as originally expected. There is no time. Hurry, get on the battleship." Bai Chun and Fen Yuyu's expressions suddenly changed. Without opening their mouths, they tacitly activated the super mecha's fastest speed, accelerated the speed and pushed the mechas of Yang and others in front to fly onto the battleship. They didn't even dodge, they just drove on. The defensive shield allows attacks. Rumbling explosions roared in the airs, and fierce hurricanes roared wildly. They are now competing with the god of death for time. The mecha cannot withstand the power of the asteroid's self-destruction. The battleship may be able to give it a try, so they must get on the battleship before the asteroid self-destructs. But misfortunes never come singly, and unexpected crises followed one after another. Seeing the Fox King pressing the red button on the console with a crazy smile on his face, Cole's expression changed drastically, and he yelled with splitting eyes, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? This is the latest developed supermagnetic energy cannon, can induce the surrounding magnetic field and triple the explosion power. Coupled with the self-destruction power of the asteroid, even if we have a battleship, we can't resist it. You madman, do you want to drag us to death together?" The fake Fox King laughed crazily. "So what? Didn't Admiral Cole originally intend not to let me live? Then His Highness will drag you to hell together." Above the asteroid, a fierce and dazzling red light lit up, carrying the violent energy of the asteroid and impacting with a devastating force, causing the surrounding air to become violently distorted. Mountains and rivers shattered, destroying the sky and the earth. Wherever it went, even high in the sky, the land on the asteroid below also shattered inch by inch and turned into nothingness. Sheng Hungtian's roar shook the heavens and the earth. You're crazy, that fake is crazy, hurry up, little Feng, run away. Feng Yu, Bai Qianshun and others' pupils shrank violently, and their hearts seemed to be tightly grasped by the hand of death, suffocating them severely.